And now, a story from the Appleseed.
Thank you. This is a traditional story that comes to us from the country of Liberia. There was once a man by the name of Ogalusa who had 5 sons and one on the way. Now, Ogalusa was known as a great and powerful hunter. At times, he would pick up his hunting weapons and set off down the path to hunt. At other times, as his sons grew older, he would teach them the art and the skill of hunting. Well, one day, Ogalusa said goodbye to his wife, to his sons. He picked up his hunting weapons and set off down the path to hunt. Well, the sun crossed the sky and it grew dark, but Ogalusa had not come back. And the brothers turned to one another and said, "Our father has not returned." Well, they lay down to sleep that night, awoke the next morning. The sun began its journey across the sky, and still, Ogalusa had not come back. And again, the brothers turned to one another and said, "Our father has not returned." Well, days went by, weeks passed, and Ogalusa did not return. But the number of times the brothers turned to one another and said, "Our father has not returned," grew less and less, until the day came when no one spoke the name of Ogalusa. Well, several months went by, and it was time for that baby to be born, and the child appeared alert from birth, seemed to peer right into its mother's eyes, and ate and grew strong and pulled himself up and toddled about the village and took his mother's hand and walked about. And as they walked and he began to acquire some language, he noticed other families, girls with their mothers, boys with their fathers. And when he was able to put together enough words, he posed a question to his mother and his brothers at an evening meal. "Where is my father?" And again, the brothers turned to one another and said, "Yes, our father did not return. Let us go and look for him." So they picked up their hunting weapons and they set off down the path that Ogalusa had taken. And they walked for a time, losing the path and finding it and losing it and finding it again, until soon they came upon the rusted hunting weapons of their father. And not far from those weapons lay what was left of Ogalusa. It appeared as though he had been attacked by an animal, and the brothers dropped to their knees and they began to wail and to moan, and their cries were so deep. The sound and the feeling, the emotion reached the heavens, and the elements heard and converged and took pity and imbued each one with a power. And the first one stood and said, "I feel I have the power to reconnect our father's bones." And he stepped forward and set about that task. The second said, "I feel I have the power to put together the muscle, the fiber, the sinew," and he set about that task. The third said, "I feel I have the power to get the blood moving through his veins once again." The fourth one said, "I feel I have the power to make his flesh whole." And the last one said, "I feel I have the power to breathe life into our father." And he breathed into Ogalusa. And Ogalusa's chest began to rise and fall. And they lifted their father, and they brought him back to the village. Well, Ogalusa stayed in his hut for 9 days, and when he emerged, he had shaved his head, and that was the custom if one was said to have returned from the land of the dead. And a feast was held. A cow was killed, the meat of the cow was cooked, the tail of the cow was given to Ogalusa as a reminder of what had happened. The ends were decorated with strips of leather and cowrie shells and beads, and he walked about with that cowtail switch, thinking of what his sons had done for him, and decided he wanted to give that cowtail switch to the child who was most responsible for his return. So he gathered everyone together and announced what he was going to do. Well, you know what happened. People began to argue about who should get it. Some said it should be the one who reconnected his bones in the first place. Others said, no, the one who put together the muscle and the fiber, allowing him movement. Some said it should go to the one who got the blood coursing through his veins once again. Others to the one who made his flesh whole, but still more said it should be given to the one who breathed life into his father. No one could agree. No one could decide. On the third day, Ogalusa reassembled them all and said, "Today I have made my decision. I will give this Cowtail switch to my youngest child." For had he not asked the question, "Where is my father?" I would still be lying cold and stiff in the land of the dead. And it underscored a long-held belief of the Liberian people that one is not truly dead unless he is forgotten and never spoken of again. And so it is that we must speak the stories of our lives, the stories of our histories, the possibilities of human understanding may lie cold and stiff in the land of the dead.
Thanks for joining us for A Story from the Appleseed.